Hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. I apologize for some of the traffic in the background, but I recently aired a video in which I expressed my opinion on the relief response, particularly some statements I made about FEMA. Now, I knew in advance that I was going to get a lot of blowback, and I did. People saying I didn't know what I was talking about, I was making up things, all kinds of things. Most of the comments I left on there and I responded to them. A few were pretty out there and I had to delete them. But I stand by what I said. And this video, I don't think I'm doubling down, but I'm going to explain what I meant, and I'm going to go a little further in sharing what I think should be done in the future to reorganize FEMA and change the department under which it's under currently. All right, come on and I'll explain. In my last video, I made a statement, I believe, in which I said that in my opinion, FEMA is not set up to be an instant or rapid response relief organization. In my opinion, they perform best as long-term aid and infrastructure. And it can be days before they are boots on the ground. That's my opinion, and that's what I'm sticking to. What I also believe, and I'm going to go a little further into detail here, I believe that FEMA should be under the military, the Department of Defense, instead of Homeland Security. And I'll tell you why. FEMA has been in the past, under Katrina, they were headed by someone named, last name Brown. And from my research, he was an attorney. What business does an attorney have running FEMA? What does he even know? And it appeared from what I saw that it was a political appointment. And we saw what a nightmare the initial response to FEMA, or from FEMA, was regarding Katrina. And I don't think that it's a deliberate action on their part to be incompetent, but I just don't think they're set up to handle the crisis that needs to be dealt with the first critical few hours of an emergency. What I think, again, is it should be under the Department of Defense. Someone like the late Colin Powell, the late General Schwarzkopf, General Honore, who came in and organized that mess in Katrina into something that could be or could provide help for people. I believe FEMA needs to have someone heading it up who has military experience handling troops under crises, under difficult situations, that strategy is called for, a certain kind of strategy that I think a military mind with lots of experience can provide. Whether it's female or male, it doesn't matter gender, it's experience level. Now, the current FEMA head, from what I've researched on her background, is night and day better than the one who was there when Katrina hit. Based on what I've read, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but based on what I've read, she was a firefighter for a couple of decades. She was deployed to Kuwait. She also was over, I think, emergency management of some sort in New York. So she certainly had more credentials than the FEMA head during Katrina. But I still don't think that's enough. You know, yesterday at church, and I'm going to connect this, so stay with me. At church, the pastor was talking about authority and power, and he was defining them. Authority is when you have the right to do something. Power is when you have the ability to carry out those things you have the right to do. And what I believe should happen with FEMA is you should have someone, a military, say a general, with combat or considerable experience in difficult circumstances, who has the ability to put troops and put units on instant alert. Now, my understanding, again, excuse me, I'm not a military person, although I was in a military family my whole life growing up. But my understanding is that the 82nd Airborne out of Bragg can be deployed within a few hours. I believe in a crisis like Hurricane Helene and upcoming Hurricane Milton, I believe that the person over FEMA should not only have the authority, but should have the power to put troops on standby, have helicopters on standby, have equipment staged, have supplies staged, have all the things that are necessary and that were going to be necessary for Helene staged, and have them on alert with notification to the president. Now the president can veto it, but then the president would have to explain to the American populace why they vetoed something that turned out to be so necessary. And then after putting it on alert, be able to deploy those troops when the crisis hits, like what happened with Helene. Deploy those troops within hours, within 4 hours, to be boots on the ground, helping, saving people, doing rapid water saves, all of those things. That's what I think should happen. Now, if you disagree with me, let me know. Put it in the comments what you think would be a better solution. Again, I'm not a military mind, but it seems to me having someone with that kind of military experience who could put people on alert immediately and then deploy them within hours rather than days would save so many lives and keep people from untold suffering. What do you think? Based on what I'm reading, the North Carolina governor, I think it's Governor Cooper, isn't it, put in effect an emergency condition on September 25th before Helene even struck. So once that happened, FEMA, if they were under the Department of Defense, should have had or could have had the ability to immediately implement what I talked about earlier. Can you imagine the difference had they been able to do that immediately on September 25th and been deployed immediately upon the hurricane hitting? Can you imagine how many lives would have been saved? Well, I'm going to end this video now. I know I'll probably get a lot of blowback saying I don't know what I'm talking about, but you know what? I think what I said would work. Stay tuned, because tomorrow I'm going to have a video on Hurricane Milton and some things, including a suggestion one of my viewers made that I think is very controversial, but I think is brilliant as far as what should possibly and probably happen in Florida to help people that are there and will be impacted by Hurricane Milton. All right, stay tuned. Love each and every one of you, and I'll see you next time.